Making auto insurance rates cheaper for Ontarians would be a big political win for the new Progressive Conservative government. Public consultations are now underway online and in fact close out a week tomorrow. Here to tell us what the government has set its sights on so far, we welcome Doug Downey. He is the PC MPP for Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte, and Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Finance. And we welcome you here to TVO. First time on the program.
First time. Glad to be here.
Thank you for making time for us. You know, we just had a discussion where we have learned that Ontarians are among the best drivers in North America and yet pay among the highest premiums in North America. And that disconnect is confusing for a lot of people. What do you think's going on?
Well, it's turned into a bit of a Gordian knot over time. Other governments have tried to do short hits and try and fix it, and they've missed the mark.
Do you have any preconceived notions about what ought to be done to fix what everybody says is a completely broken system?
Well, we know a couple of things. We know that people have a hard time understanding what the system does. Part of the survey that's out that you referenced in the intro is asking people whether they feel that they would be covered if they actually were in an accident. So we're gauging that. It's complex. It's not affordable, and we hear that over and over.
Do you know, though, whether the government enters these consultations with a view to tinkering with the status quo or ripping it up and starting something else, bringing in complete no fault, going back to a pure tort? I mean, the options are quite, endless right now.
I've come in with a complete open mind, and I actually asked for this file. I came to government
Why would you do that?
Well, I came to fix things.
This has been a career killer for everybody who's had this file.
But if you fix it, then it's fantastic, and we will. So I did a review on the Trent-Severn Waterway for the federal government, and everybody told me third rail, can't go near it. Subsequent governments, Liberal and Conservative, have followed our plan. So I know we can fix it by listening to the people.
Okay, I got to follow up on that. You think you can fix it, but how? They've tried tinkering with this thing 10 times over the last 25 years, and nobody's figured it out yet. What's the magic sauce you've got?
Well, let's start with using today's technology, some simple innovation. When you communicate with your insurance company, right now you're not getting it by email. You're getting this 30-page package of things that you need to read. The internet exists. Why are we not using it? That's a very simple thing that will help people better communicate with their provider.
Is that going to make things any cheaper, though?
Well, it's an awful lot of paper. It's a lot of mail. It's a lot of back and forth. I think the more time and paper intensive it is, then the costs go up.
I don't know if you had a chance to read David Marshall's plan, but David Marshall was this guy the previous government brought in. He wrote a 100-page report that seemed to find a lot of favor among many of the stakeholders who were involved in this file. The previous government, in its wisdom, chose not to move on his recommendations. Do you have a view on those recommendations and what you might do with them?
Very helpful. First actual report that I read. I sat down, read it cover to cover, went to the pros in finance and said, I have questions about some of this. So yeah, very, very helpful launching point.
Helpful launching point, but can you just sort of grab his recommendations and say, let's go with that?
No, it's not really a plug and play. We needed to go out and talk to people and talk to like some of the guests that you had on before.
Your government has, of course, come to power, famously promising to make life more affordable for Ontarians. Most consumer groups that we talk to say that the current auto insurance system in Ontario is unaffordable. How do you make premiums more affordable while at the same time not doing it at the expense of those who need money when they get hurt?
So we need to simplify the system a little bit, and we need to bring in choice, and we need to bring in some innovation. Those things will help all of that.
Okay, give me an example. What's choice?
Choice is usage-based insurance. So there are some products out there that will allow you to pay per kilometer as opposed to paying a flat fee per year. That kind of thing can happen, and people have different driving habits, different experiences.
And innovation you refer to? What might that be?
Everything from the electronic pink slip to communicating that way. There are monitors that people can put in their cars that can affect their rating. There's all sorts of technological pieces that we can help.
We're in the year 2019. Where would you say Ontario's auto insurance system is?
Wow, that's a good question. We've had so many changes. I've actually been tracking this just in my own personal life all the way back to 1990 when they were bringing in the DAX and all that stuff subsequent to that. So I don't know that I'd peg it at a year, but we're behind.
Have we hit the 21st century yet in the Ontario auto insurance business?
Parts of it, but not well.
We talked as well in the previous discussion about fraud and how much of that is going on and whether or not that affects the cost of premiums. You've heard the suspicions that there's $1.5 billion of fraud in there. What do you know?
So that's a partnership we have to work on. We have the Serious Fraud Office operational now, which out of the Attorney General's office. That is helpful. We are engaged in discussions with some of the insurance companies about their experience with fraud, because they're the ones who see the trends in the front line and, quite frankly, either incur the cost or pass on the cost.
What do you do, though, with a mindset that says, and I'm not saying how widespread it is, but I'm sure it's out there, what do you do with a what's the word again? A mindset that says, I've been paying into this system for 30 years, I finally got into an accident, I am going to enjoy my payday. What do you do about that?
Well, I think anybody who's gone through the system is hard-pressed to have a payday. The system is pretty strained, and I'm not sure that people have a confidence that there's a payday to be had there. These quite often are people who are in trauma or in shock, and the system is not treating them fairly.
Do you think insurance companies are charging too much for their premiums?
I haven't looked at their books, but I can tell you the system's too complicated. The regulatory burden is too much. It's not producing what it's supposed to do. We should only regulate to the point of safety, not to the point of inhibiting business.
So you'd like to see many fewer regulations?
I think as we move into FSRA, the Financial Services Regulator, it opens up some opportunities for flexibility.
Let me read this to you from Thomas Walcom, who is with the Toronto Star, which means you probably never read them. Here we go. Sheldon, you want to bring this graphic up? The Liberals and New Democrats vaguely promised to lower Ontario's sky-high auto insurance rates, yet for reasons of history and embarrassment, neither is promoting the obvious solution, public auto insurance. Public auto insurance saves money for the same reason that public health insurance, also known as Medicare, saves money. First, it cuts back administrative costs by replacing a cacophony of competing private bureaucracies with one public system. Second, by spreading risk over the entire population, good drivers as well as bad, it reduces the average cost of insurance. While rate comparisons are notoriously difficult, most studies show that drivers in public insurance provinces face far lower premiums than those in provinces that rely on private insurers. Has he made the case for you?
No. I do read them, as I read Rex Murphy and cacophony and big words like that. But at the end of the day, no, I'm not convinced that that there's a silver bullet here. There's not a silver bullet. It's a complicated system with a lot of stakeholders and people who are vulnerable.
BC has public auto. They have the highest premiums in the country. Quebec has a mixture of a system. They have among the lowest premiums in the country. We have a mixed system. We're way up high. Alberta's a tort system. They're somewhere much lower. How do you find the magic bullet?
Yeah,
here?
we're looking at different systems, and we're looking beyond our borders. I'm looking at experiences in other jurisdictions entirely, down in New Jersey and whatnot. So we're not beholden to, like I say, the silver bullet, whether it be Alberta, BC, or whatnot, but we're learning from all of them. That's the important part.
Do you have an ideological opposition because you are a conservative to putting a public auto system in place?
I just don't think it'll work. So it's not an ideological thing for me. I'm a very practical, relatively nonpartisan person. I want to actually fix this thing. So I'm not coming at it with preconceived notions that it can't be something.
When you say public auto doesn't work, does that mean you don't think it has what it takes to lower premiums?
I think premiums are high for a number of reasons, and it has to do with complexity and some of the built-in assumptions.
Are there lessons from existing public systems in Canada that you think we could learn from as you do your revamp?
Well, again, we're reviewing them all so that we'll pull the good pieces, the pieces that we think will translate into Ontario. I don't want to say specifically that we're going to take this piece or that piece. It's still a work in progress. We want to hear from people until the 15th.
Let me ask you the other side of the coin, which is, do you see anything in any purely private systems in the country that you think we can borrow from?
Yeah, I think in some of the private systems, and as it relates to going through the AB claims and the catastrophic claims, how that system functions through the legal system and whatnot, there's some things to learn from that.
Again, I don't want to be overly ideological about this, but you are a conservative, and conservatives tend to like the market to kind of do its own thing. People need to get insurance. You've got somebody prepared to sell it to them. You've got somebody prepared to buy it. What do you see as the government's role in that transaction?
Yeah, it's a great question, because it's really about people understanding what they're getting and creating choice and bringing more players to market so that people have more choice. That's the goal for me.
So you see the government's role as to ensure that there is more choice for consumers.
Absolutely.
Isn't that the market's responsibility?
But the markets are affected by the kinds of regulations and the kinds of things that we're doing.
When you went to, I presume it was Premier Ford, or was it Vic Fedeli, and said, I want this file?
It was Minister Fedeli.
It was Vic Fedeli, the finance minister. You went to him and you said, I'm your parliamentary assistant. Take that whole stack of files from the auto insurance business, plunk them on my desk, and I'm going to find the solution here.
Yep.
What was his response to you?
We had a conversation about why. Because
because I asked the same question.
It's exactly the same question, and I explained to him that I came here to fix something, not to just manage it. And he's been fantastic in terms of providing the supports to allow me to get this done.
If you could somehow find the sweet spot that gets industry, lawyers, consumers, government, other stakeholders all relatively happy, because no one's going to be totally happy, but relatively happy, that would be a big political win for you guys, right?
It's what we came to Queen's Park to do, was to fix things and have people accept it. As you know, change moves at the speed of trust. And so we're building trust with the stakeholders by listening to them and hearing them and reading the materials and looping back with them. And it's a very iterative process, so that when we come out with the final product, they know that they've been heard and they'll see themselves in it a little bit. One
of your colleagues on the opposition side of the House, Garrett Singh from Brampton, thinks that there is too much postal code discrimination in the letting of insurance rates, and he believes, well, he's put forward a private member's bill that would bring that to an end. Anything there for you to draw upon?
There are two private members' bills on the table at the moment, both dealing with postal code discrimination. And yeah, there's a system currently in place that requires calculations that are a bit artificial, and it's causing difficulty. Parm Gill, our MPP as well, has a private member's bill there, so it's acknowledged. We need to deal with that postal code discrimination.
You are from a part of the province, just about an hour and change north of here, where most people to get around have to drive. So I do wonder how often this issue comes up when you talk to your constituents.
Yeah, it's a core thing. It's an expense. It's a family expense or a corporate expense. Businesses obviously pay as well. It comes up all the time. It's like hydro. It's auto. It's just the cost of living.
So you see widespread dissatisfaction with the current system?
I see widespread angst. I think people are frustrated. They don't understand why it's not working, and it's our job to get it to be more affordable for them.
Let's finish up on this. I appreciate your ambition in wanting to get this solved. But I guess you have seen the track record of previous politicians who have tried to do this, and I can remember 35 years, well, maybe not 35, but almost 30, yeah, I guess it would be 35 years ago, David Peterson trying to, get his arms around this and trying and frankly not having any more success than any of his successors. If you try and fail, are you prepared for the political costs that may entail?
Yeah, I came here to fix things. I didn't come here for some secondary purpose. We're going to put our best foot forward and move the ball forward.
It may not be all in your hands, though. You know how politics works.
I'm more than comfortable with that.
Well, we're delighted you spent some time with us here tonight on TVO and helped us understand this all a little bit better. That's Doug Downey. He's the PC member for Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte, and we are glad to have you here at TVO tonight, Doug.
Thank you so much.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.